Welcome back everybody, this is always back with another video on the channel. In this video we're going to continue our Ionic adventure of components. So we've seen action sheet. I've explained to you how you can use alert, badge, button. Now we're going to go and complete our knowledge about UI components and some of the things that I want to talk to you guys about. So let's just say some of the components you see, we have HTML for that, so you can use these components. They are basically static components that can be used in your application, but some of the components are dynamically created. For example, if you want to create a checkbox, then you use this ion checkbox and you define the properties which are available, and then you can do that. So here we can see we got all the text checkboxes here that can be used. So if I go to API, and then I will see all the properties for checkbox I can use. So these are some of the code snippet that can be used, and it gives you some of the idea that how you can use these UI components in your application. For example, this one is dynamically done here. So here we have ion list, which is another UI component. We have an ion item. We use the Angular ng array, and then we loop through to all of these checkboxes. Then you can see a bunch of checkboxes using this ng4. That's fine. So now let's take a look at our components back. So we have a date and time picker. So if I go date and time picker, you can see in a lot of applications that you have this kind of a date and time picker as well. So here we have a time picker, nicely done, and it will automatically adjust its UI according to the platform you're using. So we have a ANFAB 2019-90. So this is how you can use date and time picker. Now let me take you to the API. We'll take a look at some of the properties for date and time picker available, which is actually an important one because a lot of application, pretty much every application has to work around date and time. So here we can see we can format our date and time by defining these values. So let's go and use this date and time picker, and let's take a look at how we can use it. So I'm going to take you back to the code. Let's just remove some of the button here. Let's save this project, and now let's learn from here. So basically we can do a date and time picker. I'm going to go and find basically this code snippet here. I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste that here. I'm going to save the project, and let's see if we are able to see date and time. So if I click on this, I see this, January 1, 18, and then time as well. So here you can see we have a property called display-format. Let's go back and we'll take a look at what are the properties available. So here we have ion date, and then we have a formatter that can be used. So here we have a format, and then basically for y defines year in 4 digits, 2yy define year in 2 digits, 1m define a month and in 1 digit. So let's go and take a look at and use this. So here we have a 4yy. I'm going to change that to 2yy, and then Control on the Windows and Command on the Mac. Press S to save the project. Let me go and just hide our project so we could see the whole code. If I click on this, now this time I should see a year in 2 digits. So you can format your date and time using all these values. So let's just say if I don't want to show the time here, I'll simply go and remove HH:MM, and I save the project by pressing Command S, and that should update our app and should only show me date with month, and then the day, and then year in 2 digits. So as you can see here, you can use these values and customize them into a date formatter. So here, it tells you how to use it. So you can see this property. Now, we can even format the picker as well. So here, if I change this format picker, and I'll just copy this property, and then let's just paste it here, and let's just save it, and let's see what happens now. Here we got an error with we losing two semicolons. So let's just save the project again, and let's see what happens now. Let's refresh, and let's see if we can see the changes. Okay, I'm gonna click here, and then now we have the picker formatter. We have a month, and then we have this for YYY. Now if I change this to true YY and then save this, now this year should be in 2 digits. So let's take a look. Now here you can see we have a January, a month, and then we have this 18. So you can format your date picker using this picker format property. Also, we have this date time data, which can be used to basically handling datetime values within JavaScript or in HTML. So basically go to this sample, and you can see what's available to you and what you can do. If I go all the way down, we have some min and max date times. For example, you want to define what's the minimum date year or what's the maximum. So if I go here, I'll just do, let's just say min is equal to, let's just say 2015, and before I save it, I want to test it. So I'll just do 3YY, 2 more YY, so we can see the year in basically in 4 digits. So I'll save it and I'll wait for it to restart, and I click on this, and now I can see I can only pick from 2015, not before 2015, because I've defined this property min. And similarly, I can define the property max as well. So right now max is 2018, but I can define max is equal to, let me go and find, so that's the date. We can do copy and we can paste it, and here I want to say, okay, let's just do 20. It's compiling, and let's go to the next century, guys. So here, that's the max, and then we can go all the way to 2015 as well. That's a date and time picker. If we go down, you will see a lot of usage, how you can use it, and sample codes. We have some properties, the cancel tags, day names, so you can customize this. This is really cool stuff here going on. I can't make everything available to you guys in just one video. I'll do a separate video just covering date and time. I'm going to close this, and let's go to the Fab. Fab is another company which needs a separate video. So we go to grid. If you're coming from Bootstrap background, you understand how you can define the grid. So I'm not going to go into details. Infinite scroll is one of the nice component that can be used for a lot of data processing. So you have like 100 entries. You can't show your 100 entries in small screen. So what do? You create an infinite scroll. So when people go all the way down, they can basically load more data, right? We have a generic input fields as well. So let me take you to documentation of input, and we'll use this. So let's go here, and now I can show you the code snippets. So for example, we have this. Let's just do something like a floating label. Let's just do copy this and then just paste it somewhere here. Let's save it, and let's see what comes up. So here we have defined a label, ion label, and we have an input. So this says a floating label. So if I click on that, that's the nice animation. You see, this is what happens. So if I do, like, remove this and I save this again, now I'm pretty sure you're not going to see that animation there. So let's just go click, and you can't click anymore because it's not going up. So you cannot have an input field there. So now you can see and read about this as well. Ionic input fields can allow text, password, number, search, tell. So let's do a number. So I'm going to change this back to floating position, and inside this Ionic input, I'm going to type is equal to, we'll do a number. I'm going to save, and now once I start tapping, I should see a number picker here. So you see this, I can pick the number from here. That's not really natively showing you how you can type the number, but once you open that in your mobile application, in your mobile, it will show you the numpad. So we can do something like a tell. Let's just change this to tell and save it. Let's see what happens now. So here I see I can define the alphabets also. I can define a telephone number. So yeah, that's you can use all this text, password, email, URL, and you can do a validation of that, which I'll have a separate video. Right, so I'm going to cancel out and we go to the next UI component. Now one of the component loading, which is great. So when you move around your applications from one page to another page, sometimes what happens is when you go to the next page, you have to make an API call, which will wait for the data to come back. Now, during the time, if you don't let user know anything that what's happening, if the data is coming up or not, then that's really a bad thing to do to the user. So what we do, we create a loading. We tell the user, wait, hang on a second, it's loading the data, and it's going to show that. So click on show loading, and that should show something like this. And also if we go to API, we can change the design of it as well. So let me go and let's create a loading actually. So we'll do a loading by using loading controller. We create that similarly an async function and wait, and then we define a property duration and a message. We can also define what kind of spinner we want to use. So let me just copy this code from here, and I will go and paste it in our home page.tsv file. Let's just ts file. So here we don't have a loading, so we're gonna go up there, and I'm just gonna press enter, and I'll do private. Now what was the name of that variable? So just do copy, and I'll just do a paste here, and then I'll do loading, loading controller, and that's gonna come from Ionic Angular as well. So just paste it here. Let's save this project. And also there's something wrong here, guys. So what we want to do is comma here when we define it more than one. We're injecting a service. All right, let's save the project, and now we're going to call this function present loading without option. So let's copy this. We go here, we create another button. So let me just make this smaller, and we just copy this, we paste this button, and I just say loading action, and we paste that. Oops, no, we need to go back. I'm just gonna copy this, let's go back here and paste it here. Let's save the project and let's call this function, and then let's see if we see the loading or not. So if I click on loading, that should give me this loading here. It says loading, we have a spinner hide, duration 5 seconds, message please wait, is it transcluent true, and if there's any CSS custom class, I'm just going to remove the CSS custom class, and I'm going to remove this as well. Now let's try to find out what are the nice loading available for us. So we'll go here, we have this something like, okay, here goes. We have a spinner property, and we can do lines, align small, dot, circle, bubbles. Let's do a bubble, and then we do paste a bubble here, and let's just compile and then refresh the page. Let's click here, and then there you go. That's the bubble. Now we see the bubbles, yeah? So if we want to change this to, let's just say, dots, let's copy this, and let's just paste it here and save it. And we should see a reload on the page. And I'm going to click on that, and we have dots now. So you see how cool animation that can be done using loading. Let's close this. You understand how to use it. There are some methods that you can call on this, like we did call this present method on the loading. We can call a dismiss method on the loading, which will dismiss the current loading happening. And the transcode property was there by default. So say if true, the loading indicator will be translucent. Defaults to false. Yeah, so that makes sense. We have a mode. We can define if it's a iOS mode or MD mode. Let's try that. So we'll do mode, and I do MD, and add a comma here. Let's save it, and let's take a look if the mode makes any change to our UI of loading. Let's click on that. Now we seeing a rectangular loading box, which is good. Now it's not transparent, so we do something like transparent, and then we do to true. Let's just do comma here. Let's save it, and then we should see a reload. Let's just click on that, and now we have some sort of translucent. So let's go back. I'm going to close loading. Let's go and let's skip menu, and let's skip the model as well. And also let's skip the navigation because that's a bit of lengthy component to explain. We have a pop over. That's just like a top header, which basically sees what's happening underneath. So if I go down, you see this text underneath. We have a range. Sometimes you want to increase or decrease the brightness of your iPhone or application. You can do this range as well and change the values dynamically. Refresher, as I said, with loader you can do a refresher, so you tap and slide down, and then it will load more data to it, so you can call an event. So let's go to the API. Let's take a look at what we can do. So in the refresher provides pull to refresh functionality on a content component. The pull to refresh pattern lets the user pull down on the list of data using touch in order to retrieve more data. So we have this complete. So let's take a look at the usage now. So we will do all copy and paste this, and definitely can tell you this is going to work. So this is what happening. Ion refresh, and then we do refresh, and we pass in an event. In our TS file, we have this function do refresh, and then set timer to 2000. So this is how you can do a refresh and then do your logic in this refresh function. Okay, so there are some properties available for that as well. You can play with them. We have something called cancel, complete, and get process function, and they actually all makes sense by the name of the function. For example, cancel, it changes the refresher state from refreshing to canceling. That's okay. Complete, call it complete when your async operation has completed. For example, the refreshing state is while the app is performing an asynchronous function. So you can call this function as well. Get process makes really sense, straightforward sense. So let's cancel out, and then we go to search bar. Pretty simple, guys. Search bar is just, search bar, which can do some filtering as well, and Ionic basically provides an API for that as well. A select is something that you click, and then you have an option to select, right? So we have December, we have two options to select. It's basically a selection of two. You can define more than two as well. Slides. Now, slides are great when you have an application starting for the first time in your phone. You want to be able to show some message or some tutorial to the user of that app. So slides are a great way to show that, and a lot of applications do that as well. Once you start your application for the first time, it will show you some slides with nice information. Spinner, we can see the spinner already. We have different types of spinner, tabs, we skip the tab because we're going to be creating a separate video for tabs. Toast is something that will pop the message out for a specific amount of time. So similar, on a click event, it just shows you some of the toasts that you can see. You can put the messages in that. That's very straightforward. Visual scroll, same thing, that you just go and scroll down, keep scrolling up to where you want to allow user to scroll to. That's good as well. So I'm going to show you a toast API. Let's go here, and here we can find really cool stuff. So we have a toast here which comes from top to bottom. We can see the properties. So here we have a property of animated, if you want to animate that or not. So we specify a property name animated, and then we put the value. It's a boolean, so either it takes true or false. Duration, we can specify the duration, and after this duration, the what do you call this? Ion toast will be dismissed. Okay, we mode, overall index, position that you can define top, middle, bottom. If we have this, it's in the middle, we have a top, we have a bottom, so you can define those positions by defining a position property and giving a value either top, middle, or bottom. So show close button, if you have a close button there, then you can basically show a close button. It doesn't show here, but you can define a show button. So by default, because you won't see a close button here. Right, we have some events as well. We got method similar to other UI component present. Will present this toast. On will dismiss. It returns a promise that resolves when the toast will dismiss. Dismiss actually dismisses the toast. And we have some custom CS properties as well, which we can use to customize the layout or look of that toast. So we pretty much covered all the basic UI components, and you understand how to use them by going and reading about the documentation in API page that can help you how you can customize those components. All right, so in the next video, we are going to create a layout with tabs and also with a sidebar. So I'll see you guys in the next video. But also please check out my JavaScript course on Udemy, which is on special right now, and I drop a coupon which will give you 50% off in the description of this video. Thanks for watching, subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you guys later.